Good afternoon. I'm Pat Montgomery, and I am the superintendent of Angleton ISD. I have with me today Chief James R. Chip Gale, who is our Chief of Police, Hannah Chalmers, who is our Public Information Officer, Antonio Corrales, who is our Bilingual Coordinator, and Jerry Kroll, who is the Principal of Angleton High School. I have a statement to read to you, and then after that we will take questions from you. Through a joint effort, the Angleton Independent School District, the Angleton ISD Police Department, and the Brazoria County Sheriff's Narcotics Unit participated in a narcotics operation resulting in the arrest of 12 students in Angleton this morning. At approximately 9:15 this morning, the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Task Force, along with the Angleton ISD Police Department and the Angleton Police Department, executed arrest warrants at Angleton High School. A total of 10 students were arrested on campus, 5 adults and 5 juveniles. 2 former students, both adults, were arrested off campus for a total of 12 arrests and a total of 26 charges. The charges range from a delivery of a controlled substance to delivery of marijuana. The arrests are the result of a 4-month joint undercover narcotics operation. The operation began at the beginning of this school year when an undercover narcotics officer was placed at Angleton High School as a student. The undercover officer found that several of the high school students were involved in drug activity. Based upon the result, the 10 students and the 2 former students were charged and arrested for selling drugs in a drug-free zone. The question has been asked as to why did we do this? The reason we did this is that our first responsibility is to make sure that our children are safe. Our children cannot be safe if there are drugs being sold on campus. And so to make sure that our children have the opportunity to learn in a safe environment, we came up with a multifaceted plan to help us do that. Chief Gale will talk to you, Chief Gale, if you want to, about the 4 components of our plan that we follow every single day.
We have a 4-step approach, which is a proactive, a reactive, an educational, and a rehabilitation process. When we know about problems, we proactively approach those problems. We try to take care of it. Reactively, if we hear about something, we want to address it as quickly as possible. Education-wise, we try to educate kids when we can through processes in the school, classes, talking to young children, talking to the adults about the consequences and the effects of drugs. And then the rehabilitation part is if we have someone that does have an addiction problem, we attempt to get them help through several different organizations within the county to take care of their addiction.
One of the things that we know is that every single high school in America has some type of a drug problem. And we believe if one student is using drugs, that's a drug problem. We have a survey that is done every spring that shows us that our students are involved in alcohol and drug use. Just like every school district in the country, we try to do everything we can through education, through Crime Stoppers, through our canine dog, through whatever to help our children make the right decision. We've not seen our students making significant changes in the decision-making process. And so this year, this school district came up with 2 things that we're doing. One is that we began a random drug testing program for all students who are involved in extracurricular programs or who drive on campus. Then we also had the undercover program. One of the things that we want to do is to give our kids the opportunity to say no. It's very tough when you're a teenager to just say no, but if you can say, no, I'm not going to do drugs because I might get caught in the drug testing program, or you never know, they might have another undercover officer here. That gives our students some power to say no and to do what they're supposed to do. That's what we hope happens here. We are pleased that this operation was successful. We are heartbroken that this operation was successful, because this means that we have students whose lives have been changed dramatically. Our goal from this point is for these 10 students who are current students who were arrested is to help them make better decisions, continue their education, finish their education, and get on the right track. At this point, if you have questions, we will be happy to answer those.
What triggered the investigation?
The investigation was just a part of our whole attack against drugs. There was not one precipitating event. It was the surveys that we do every year. It was just the knowledge that there are drugs that are being sold on campus that we don't have any way of knowing where those drugs are being sold or to whom.
So were you guys tipped off that drugs are being sold on the campus?
We know that.
Okay.
Once again, every high school in America, drugs are being sold on their campus.
So what was so alarming this year that you had to go to this?
What was so alarming is that nothing we've done has made a significant difference. And if you keep doing the same thing and nothing changes, there's something wrong with you. And so, since nothing we've done has made a significant difference, that's why we decided to go to the mandatory drug testing, or the mandatory drug testing for those in extracurricular programs, and the undercover officer.
So when you did the random drug testing, did you find that there were drugs in the systems of these children, and so therefore you launched the investigation?
No, they were launched together. They were both at the same time.
How many students have failed your mandatory drug test?
5 at present.
5 out of how many tests?
It's well over 100.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, or the chief, can you tell us how it went down this morning? How did it happen? I mean, did you
This
have a lot of
morning,
officers?
yes, ma'am. This morning at approximately 9 o'clock, we started the execution of the warrants at our school. It was a joint team between us, the Missouri County Narcotics Unit Task Force, and the Angleton Police Department. By 9:09, all those students were in custody without any incidences of the arrest. By 9:53, those students were completely booked and removed from the property of the school district.
Did they have drugs on them?
No, ma'am.
Were they taken to jail?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe how the transactions went down when the undercover officer was able to purchase from the students?
I do not have that information. That is still part of an ongoing investigation, and because of the Narcotics Unit's task force, they're the ones that have that particular information.
When did the officer begin posing as a student and intermingling with them and selling the drugs?
We utilized the undercover position at the very beginning of school.
Of the
which
fall?
would be, yes, sir, of the fall. It's just August 22nd, I believe.
So he or she went in there, and then what happened?
That's correct. That's an agent that went in and posed as a student and had to do everything a student does, from homework to everything else, and then begin to do what they do, which is, I guess, make contacts or wait to be approached, or however the process goes.
Was the agent approached by each individual?
I don't have that information for you.
Did the student play football or any of the other extracurricular activities with the other students?
Basically, to protect that narcotic agent's identity, I can't tell you what that student did.
Have other schools in the school district used a similar program to catch students who were selling drugs?
I don't know. In the county, I think we've had 1 or 2 other schools many years ago.
But in this school district?
We have one high school.
We have one high school.
Which other one? Oh, you only have one high
Yes,
school?
we only have one high school.
What kind of drugs are we talking about? Just marijuana?
What we have is delivery of a controlled substance and delivery of marijuana. Basically, what you're talking about is prescription medication.
With painkillers?
I'm sorry?
With painkillers?
It's a whole gamut, but it's medication, the vast majority.
How many students at the high school?
1,718 yesterday. That's,
How long have y'all been using this building?
the new building?
Yes, sir.
This is our second year in that building.
And one of the things that we hope will come out of this is some very good conversation with parents, with prescription drugs. So often people want to talk about drug dealers, and we certainly want to get the drug dealers, but so many of the drugs that we find in our schools today, they come from the medicine cabinet. And I'm not sure that parents are fully aware of what they have in their medicine cabinet and how particular they need to be about that. Jerry, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
One of the things that we talk to the students about is that it's not just the marijuana. You know, it's the Adderall, it is the hydrocodone, it is the things that doctors prescribe to their parents. And so when we're doing the drug informational meetings with our students as we're getting ready for the mandatory drug testing, we were letting them know that if you have a prescription, that's fine, but if your mom has a prescription and gives that to you, that's illegal. That's against the law. And we kind of glaze over that. Society kind of glazes over that. And the doctor who was giving us the talk actually said, you know, if the doctor prescribes the codeine cough syrup for one person in the family, it's not a prescription for everyone in the family. It's just for that one kiddo. And we get kind of caught with that thinking it's okay.
We understand one of the students who was arrested plays football. Can you give us a breakdown of their extracurricular activities? I mean, are these students who are on teams and who hold leadership positions?
You know, it's unfortunate that any of our students were arrested today, but they run the gamut from folks who are involved in athletic events to folks who are just involved in being a student every day on campus.
And of course, we have to be very careful. FARPA still rules us, and we have to be very careful of not saying anything that would identify a student.
Can you tell us, I mean, is it from like freshmen to seniors, both female and male?
Let me give you the breakdown on that. It was total 7 adults and 5 juvenile. 3 of them were in 12th grade, 4 were in 11th grade, 5 were in 10th grade, 7 Anglo, 1 African American, and 4 Hispanic. So they ran the gamut of grades, gender, and ethnicity.
What kind of punishment do they face?
Once again, I cannot talk about these students specifically, but generally, if you sell or deliver drugs on campus, that is a mandatory expulsion.
So they will be expelled?
They have to go to a hearing, and if the hearing committee determines that these charges are in fact true, then they will be expelled to our juvenile justice program. They will continue their education at our boot camp.
Is there any videotape of the transactions from the school surveillance system?
No, not that we know of.
What happens next? Are you going to meet with the parents to talk to them about what happened today?
Tomorrow, the parents have been notified this morning. As soon as their child was removed from campus by the police department, the assistant principals called the parents to let them know what had happened. And we've invited the parents up tomorrow to talk about where we go from here. We go through the process of the recommendation for expulsion, and we walk the parents through the things that are going to happen next in their kiddo's educational career.
Were teachers notified who were outside of this investigation about what was happening this morning?
No, sir.
The only people who knew were the law enforcement officers and yourself?
Yes, sir. With very, very limited amount of knowledge of this on campus.
Were there police cars that drove up to the school in such a way that the other students would have known that something was happening?
No, sir. It was very low-keyed.
And we were sending letters home to parents?
Yes,
all
ma'am.
of the parents?
Today, after the warrants were executed and the kiddos had left the campus, I announced kind of what had happened to the campus. I read the letter that's being released that went home with our students today. It's pretty much the same letter that's on the website. Actually, it's the same letter that's on the website. And talked about how if they're making poor choices, what avenues they have to come talk to us and administrative staff or the counselors or a teacher with whom they have a good relationship. It's been a tough day to be a principal of a campus where 12 of our students made poor choices and went to jail. You don't want to see that, but hopefully this will serve as a wake-up call, not just for those folks, but for everyone who sees this, that tonight you just have a conversation with your child and let them know the things that are going on out there. Be very honest about that. I don't want it just to be an Angleton problem, because it's not. We're on the news today, but it's not just an Angleton problem. It's everywhere.
Was there any one incident that triggered today's arrest of the students, or was it just the surveys and you all knowing that there's a problem?
No, sir. The fact that we have kids who do drugs on campus is a problem. If it's 1, if it's 100, but just 1 on campus is a problem for us.
And for the chief, I mean, are there more arrests to come? I mean, you guys still have to figure out who was supplying the drugs to begin with.
This is still a pending investigation, and then we are waiting to gather more information or intelligence as a result of this investigation.
Do you know who was supplying the drugs?
At this time, I cannot comment anything additionally about the case itself.
Would it be correct to say that there were juveniles, they necessarily don't go to jail, but instead to juvenile detention
That would be
holding
correct.
center, right?
The juveniles were taken to juvenile detention,
Okay.
and the adults were taken to the county jail.
Okay.
Keep in mind that we are a microcosm of our society. There's nothing special about our school district except that we love it, and we love the kids that go to school here. But the use of drugs and alcohol happens everywhere. We intend to do what we can to make a difference. We love these kids. And we know that if they use drugs and alcohol, then bad things are going to happen to them in their lives. And we're going to do whatever we can to help them make better decisions. We hope that these 12 students make better decisions because of this. We also hope that all the other students in this school district make better decisions because of this too.
Sorry, say again how many mandatory drug tests have you done? You said 100?
Over 100, yes, ma'am.
And you just started them this year?
We started at the end of October, early November.
And that would be students who want to drive their car to school, is that right?
Or who are in extracurricular activities.
So if a 16-year-old gets a driver's license and wants to take his or her car to school, they have to say, okay, I'll do a drug test. Is that the way it works?
They have to agree to be in the pool. It's a random drug testing pool. And so they have to agree to that. And by the way, for extracurricular activities, it's grades 7 through 12. So our junior high children are also involved in the drug pool.
Have they warned, or they told, I mean, they're aware that they'll have to do that, but are they told this week is when we're doing drug testing?
No. And actually, the students have already figured out that they need to be very careful, and so it's doing what we want it to do. My understanding is that the kids were going, we've been back in school for over a week now, and we haven't had a drug test, and so they are watching what they do, and that's exactly what we want them to do. We want them to have a reason to resist peer pressure.
Is there going to be any way for you to know if, in fact, today's raid makes a positive change with the statistic or empirical data of any kind to show that fewer students are using drugs?
Perhaps our survey will show that.
When's the next survey?
It will be late spring. But I'm not sure that there is a good statistical means of determining exactly how many of our students use drugs.
Would you guys consider doing this again in the future if it continues to be a problem?
Yes. Whatever we can do to help our kids make better decisions, we'll do.
Was the survey drastically different than previously?
No. And I think that's it. The survey hasn't changed. The results haven't changed. No matter what we've done in the past, it hasn't changed. The survey is just one part of the component to help us make the decision to do this.
Say your name again for me.
My name is Pat Montgomery.
And spell your last name, please.
Montgomery.
And your title, please.
Superintendent. And then Chief James R. Chip, C-H-I-P, Gale, G-A-Y-L-E.
James Chip Gale?
Yes, sir.
And then Jerry Kroll, C-R-O-W-E-L-L.
Principal.
Principal. Antonio Corrales, C-O-R-R-A-L-E-S.
And who's Mr. Corrales with?
He is our bilingual coordinator. And then Hannah, H-A-N-N-A, Chalmers, C-H-A-L-M-E-R-S, who is our public information officer.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Appreciate it.
Are there other questions?
Yes, who's going to give us the interview in Spanish?
It would be Mr. Krause.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.